Hi guys. So I actually just wanted to come back and just kind of do a different kind of reading for today. There was a really interesting topic that I saw the other day. Somebody was talking about whether or not you can represent yourself as being multiple different religions, or if it's okay to kind of have representations or symbols of multiple different religions in one area or space. I thought that was intriguing. I've never really thought about that as like a limitation, but I think it's intriguing to think about, and I would love to, completely dissect that frame of mind. So the idea that I kind of came up with for myself when I was ruminating on that was that the idea of the chicken and the egg. So which one came first and why? In terms of religion, there is a timeline that is associated with religious emergence, I guess you could say. So we do know roughly where the chicken and the egg happened. What we don't know is how the chicken emerged into so many different species. So we've got it's just you've got Cornish hens, you've got, I guess it's some pops. You've got Cornish hens, you've got all types of red ones, white ones, speckled ones, black ones, brown ones. You've got tons of different types of hens. And I feel like with religion, although, we do have basic religions that the majority of people in America do adhere to, I don't necessarily think that those are the only ones. So I do hope that all religions' main focus is to foster and continue the doctrine of love. And so if that's the general thread or string between all of religions that holds us as people together, and especially with our psychology, and given the fact that we all tend to come together as a whole during times of need, and especially with faith, then that seems like a reasonable assumption for me. But I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't have any necessarily strongly developed opinions on that. I'm just kind of waiting to figure that out. But I do think that it's interesting that, there's a debate out there about science and religion, and I guess I tend to stand in the frame of mind whereas the two can coexist insofar as we can't figure out the most basic of things for either. We can't prove that God exists, and we also can't see past a certain, observable limit that our technology obviously limits us to seeing, like, how far we can see out into the universe or into the galaxy or space or along the space-time continuum. So in any case, that's kind of neither here nor there, but I do feel like it's interesting to think about the dinosaurs are not in the Bible. And I think that's because everything happened in the blink of an eye. In God's existence, it's a blink of an eye. So perhaps in those 7 days of creation, that's where the dinosaurs happened or something, I don't know what the prerogative is for people to have to limit themselves and say, oh, I only believe this, and this is all that you can believe here. If you believe that, that's great, and we're all happy about that. But also, it's okay for other people to have different opinions about things. So you kind of got to let them live and let live. You know what I mean? Okay, I have pulled a whole bunch of cards. I think one of the things that I really wanted to also address was, just because of all the stuff that's going on with George Floyd, is how it is to be Black. And it's not a comfortable conversation to have, actually, but I think it's one of the most crucial ones that you could possibly ever start with somebody, especially with a community that has a multicultural presence already there. It's the respectful thing to do in that case. So I think when it comes down to it, that it doesn't really matter, chicken or the egg. We're not talking about if you are part of, if you're racist. That's not the point. The point is, what do you think going forward? Does it matter more to you that someone is human or that they're purple, blue, green, tan, beige, brown, black, white, or otherwise? Because it's about the respect level, and it's also about understanding people's boundaries and people's spatial reasons for needing privacy, for needing acknowledgement, for needing love, but all at specific times and in specific places. Those are what give us cultural nuance. Some people, they show love by cooking. Some people, they show love by dancing together. Some people, they show love by drinking together. Some people, they show love by playing video games together. Some people show love, in so many different ways. It's 5 different love languages, at least. Probably more than that, but we're, just catching up with that. I don't know. So I think that it's similar with what's going on. I don't think that people are really looking into the language of culture around them, and especially not the subliminal ones that really kind of end up becoming a huge list of items that are offensive. So there's a book called It's the Little Things. I don't know who it's by. I'm going to look it up, or I'll list it in the description box below. But literally, it's about flipping your hair in someone else's face when that person is black. Takes us 3 hours or 2 hours or however long to get our hair to look like this. It's actually not something we can wake up every morning and do before we go to work. If it's in an afro state, it takes us a long time to get it down to a flat iron state. The cornrows are expensive. You either have to know somebody or you have to pay somebody an exorbitant amount of money to put them in your hair. When we walk in a room and you see our skin is black, then you know we're black. We can't really hide that from you. You know what I mean? So it's BS to tell somebody, oh, well, I don't see color, because I do, and I like my color. I'm okay with it. Just like my opinion. I'm okay with it. If you're not okay with it, then you can feel free to excuse yourself. But it's not okay to literally stand in someone's presence or be in their space and say, you can't have your opinion and you can't talk and you can't. No, actually, you're going to get out of my space and out of my presence. And I can. And I will. Not to be mean. It's just literally there's a discernment between the two. You can't tell me that you don't see color, because if I said nothing at all, then, when I walk in a room, what you see is that I'm a black woman. So that the same, it's the same as being chosen. Not really. Yeah, I don't wear, there's no jewelry to wear that says I'm black. I mean, I guess you could make a necklace that says I'm black, but it would be a little redundant. We don't have to look for white people shampoo in the store, but we have to look for colored people shampoo in the store. That's a thing. Why is there just not shampoo for humans? Or curly hair versus straight hair? Or whatever. It's still a double negative at times, and I think that's what's upsetting to people, is that there are standards saying, hey, you should believe in one religion because you came to this country, and in exchange for your soul, you were given this religion. You're not to think about any other religions. You're not to question any other doctrines. You're not supposed to speak about or be about anything else. Do you think your people were that religion when they got here? Or was that Jim Crow that took away a lot of those social knowledge bases of education, creativity, expression, religious understanding, self-awareness? It's all built in together. It's the removal of a portion of your memory. If you don't remember it because they told you in the books, it's in 6th grade, that this was the case and you just believed it from that point forward, and you never remember to go back and question anything, and you never remember to go back and look at who you are, or where your roots came from, or even further from the shores of this country, probably the East Coast. We have Ellis Island has names for a lot of the European immigrants, has a statue for the black ones, because all of our names had X's. We didn't speak the language. You didn't speak the language when you came here. I'm talking to black people, by the way. I'm just saying that we did not speak the language when we came to this country. We were taught this language. We were taught this societal norm, the new norm, that is supposed to be completely one size fits all, I suppose. But, if I'm going to put a cross and Yemaya candle right next to each other on a display, how does that affect your day? If anything, it affects mine, right? And as long as love is the common denominator, as we've said before, then it doesn't seem to me that there should be a lot of strife. Or unless you just want to argue, there really shouldn't be an issue. It's like those bumper stickers that say coexist on the back of people's cars, and like 3 to 8 different characters and symbols and stuff like that. If that offends you, then it offends you. But the person's still going to drive the car, and the bumper is still there, and you don't have to look at it. So, anyway, when things are personally tailored towards you, I think it's easy to get defensive. But, I also think that rest, wait on your belief. Don't hold on. This is 4 of Cups in reverse. Don't hold on to working together. Just wait, and don't hold on to other people's opinions of things and you, and don't care. It's none of your business what other people think about you at the end of the day. And on top of that, if they don't care about you, then why does that matter? It shouldn't matter to you, because it certainly doesn't matter to them. They're not losing any sleep. The Page of Wands is to move on, like working together, moving forward. There's justice. And that's offering kind of some type of an end to a situation. So I think if you're willing to stand firmly in your own beliefs and know for yourself that the chicken and the egg are both already here. So the one question that you actually don't really need an answer to if you want to eat dinner and have a full stomach tonight is which one came first. Just enjoy the fact that they exist in the first place, and then choose which one you might like to eat first for dinner. Or maybe you're kosher. I don't know. Whatever floats your boat or finds your last remote. But at the end of the day, keep an open mind about people, places, things, everything, every institution, question everything. Don't ever just settle for what it is. It is what it is. That's like when you're a baby or a child and you're being bad and your mom is like, well, it's because I'm the mom and that's why. I used to hate that. Oh my God, I used to hate that so bad. Like, so what? That means you can't answer the question. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I wanted to read a passage really fast from Being Black. This is Zen and the Art of Living with Fearlessness and Grace by Angel Kyoto Williams. We're just going to flip randomly and I'm going to read. Excuse me. The truths are without limit. I make a promise to master them. The truths that makes up the nature of life are completely without limit. There is no end to the knowing that is possible. This is the promise you make to be as vigilant in your effort to acquire knowledge as is possible for you at any given moment. Black people and other people of color really need to be active in their analysis of both their individual situations and the situations of their communities. We each need to become even more engaged than we are. We need to participate in the world and have our voices heard beyond our own backyards, streets, and neighborhoods. We cannot afford to be lazy thinkers because there is too much to be lost when we take that route. If we are not careful to think about the situations that we see around us, we cannot address them. Part of the enlightened being and living responsible. It's Mercury retrograde. I'm really sorry. I've been having issues with talking for my first time all day today. Part of the enlightenment and living responsibility is acknowledging that we are essentially in a relationship with the rest of the world. If we leave ourselves in a position in which we can't respond to the needs of others, we contribute to a breakdown in communication, in harmony, and in peace. This is how we create dysfunctional relationships in our lives, in the lives of our families, at our jobs, in our communities, and in the world. The very last thing that I wanted to go ahead and address, I was just looking into some of this stuff, and so basically this is about depression. However, I think it's really applicable to the people in the community, which is what they were just talking about. Being able to observe what's going on around you and why these things are happening in a chain reaction event, a cycle that you then get stuck in, and then you're in the washing machine for like 5, 10, 7 years, and you're like, what? I've been going in circles and I'm dizzy at this point, This is actually from a book called I Don't Want to Talk About It, and it's by Terrence Real. It says, in family therapy, we are trained to consider a symptomatic person as a signal that old moves and beliefs in the family no longer serve the present context. A symptomatic family member is the bearer of news that a change must come, a messenger of transformation. So I think this is really poignant in thinking about the way that we're predisposing our children to think about race and to think about systemic oppression, and the way that we think about denial, and the way that we think about cyclical family disassociation with issues, or familial. It's like a family curse or something that, when you've had an abusive father, you are more likely to become abusive yourself if that's not addressed. If it's something that you're cognizant of and you say, hey, that's abuse, you identify the issue and then do a lot of work on yourself with actively picking apart the reasons why and the ways in which that affected you. Then you can undo some of the trauma that has triggered past members of your family to act out in that way and break the cycle. For Black children, I don't know what the name of the study is, but I know that there's a teacher that actually did a study on young children who were like in 1st and 2nd grade, giving them 2 different dolls and asking them which one they preferred. And most of them chose the white doll, including the Black children. And it was because in our society, that is the beauty is considered white. The beautiful paradigm that we see on the TV every day, that we see depicted in magazines and heard about in news stories, that pretty heroine in all of the movies always typically is a white woman. And because of that, all little Black girls that grow up in America are predisposed to almost covet the lighter skinned existence because it's easier. Not because we think it's prettier. I'm not going to say that because I really like my skin tone. Like, if I could change it, I wouldn't. But I'm saying that if I could have the perks of looking white as a black woman, I would take them in a heartbeat. That's the part that is disparate and has a complete disconnect between the signal that something is wrong and our ability to realize that we need to be transforming something about ourselves or our beliefs as African Americans, as Africans, because Africans and African Americans are not alike. Do not get me started on that. I would prefer to call us black because I don't really associate with African living is different than African living and culture is different than African American living and culture. And they're so vastly different that I just separate the two in my mind. But I think that there's a coexistence, obviously, that we can achieve, but it has a lot to do with this, with the idea of being able to be frank with each other, have uncomfortable conversations that are not necessarily about pointing fingers and you did this and I. No, we need to take personal responsibility for our own lives, for our own communities, instead of trying to go out and fix everyone else's. Identify those places where there's weakness or a flaw or somebody depressed in your family or somebody in distress in your family and go for the root of the issue and realize that that's really the problem. It has nothing to do with the person themselves or necessarily general wide sweeping. You can't say all white people are racist. They're not. You can't say all black people are gangsters. They're not. So there's a happy medium that we can all hold in our hearts at large, I guess. So, I guess that's all. That's all I have to say about that. That's all I have to say about that. I'll be back with some more stuff. If you like this video, please comment, share, like down below. And I shall talk to you pretties later.